just live your life. You know what I mean? And like, if you're living a fulfilling life, the spectacle will be within that. You know what I mean? Like, I remember growing up as a kid and it was like just feeling very isolated. My goal is to like reach those who are feeling that same thing, who feel like they're on an island, and let them know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And at least through my music and through my art, if it's anything that I've realized, it's like the more personal I get, like with my experience and the things that I don't necessarily want to share, weirdly enough, that's like the most universal, and that's the things that people resonate the most with.
Yeah.
If you don't know my motherfucking name, it's Treyzis, cause I can't say this rap game from the flagrant. Been more than cashing out for some payments. Money just a side effect of my greatness. Sayers A cap with the black, that's my favorite shit. Laced up looking dap, that's my day-to-day shit. Packed up with the amethyst boarding spaceships. About to blast off the mirror of my language. I stay sheen like silk scenes of the melanated queens that dream of the finer things. I'm Byzantine with the lines behind. Blue screens, Constantinople, and in between the scenes you seen developing like Weems, leading haters like Frasers, Levi Jeans, Whitney Way. I pull up in the gallery, shruti as I'm jumping through realities. Never been a casualty to a slave's mentality.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of C-Rod's Tell Me a Story podcast. I'm your host, C-Rod. Let me tell you a story. Today, I would like to begin by discussing an observation that I have made in my quest to find engaging guests for my podcast. It is amazing to me how many talented individuals are out there just waiting for the opportunity to share their voice. From rapping to writing, from singing to dancing, from athleticism to intellect, there is abundance of fascinating people who could possibly impact the world if given the chance. But what is holding these people back from the spotlight? Why many would say it is the lack of motivation or drive, I question if this is truly the root cause. As I navigate through the realms of social media and observe people's pursuits, I'm inclined to believe that the issue runs deeper than mere motivation. I see authors exhausting their financial resources, traversing the country in order to promote their books. I witness rappers constantly sharing their videos, songs, and reels in their quest to break through to the next level. Yet I notice individuals with financial security advance swiftly and effortlessly as they can just purchase the resources needed instead of working for them. However, I wonder if these individuals will fail to reach new heights because the lack in an understanding of the perseverance and dedication required by those who have experienced the grind firsthand. Could it be that those at the pinnacle of these industries are deliberately controlling the narrative, ensuring that only select individuals receive a slice of the pie by maintaining status quo that allows them to reap all the rewards? Such thoughts linger in my mind as I reflect these dynamics. As I listen to the radio, I find myself hearing the same songs on repeat without much diversity. Or as I delve into certain types of music, while all top artists seem to blend together, delivering the same messages. I can't help but ponder the reasons behind this phenomenon. Is it due to the tendency for individuals to mimic one another? Or is it a deliberate effort in order to shape and control the narratives that reach our younger generations? These questions linger in my mind, leaving me without definitive answers. I can only observe from the sidelines as I witness how these dynamics unfold. Yet one thing remains clear to me. I yearn for a world where everybody has their opportunity to showcase their unique talents and shine brightly. It is a disservice to us all when a select few monopolize the spotlight, depriving us of the diversity that music and creativity can bring us all to enjoy. Our guest today was born in Louisiana but found himself in El Paso, Texas at a young age. While both his parents were in his life, he gravitated to his mother, who was the more lenient of the two. Growing up with older brothers who he admired, he lived a typical normal life until one of them started taking him to concerts, which sparked a deep passion for music. Despite his love for music, he also developed a keen interest for photography. Balancing his studies during the day and thoughts of photography in the evening, he ultimately pursued this passion and got a degree in the field. However, his affection for music remained, leading him to explore poetry and to share his creations, which received a positive feedback. Encouraged by the positive response, he decided to stop waiting for permission and to pursue a journey as a rapper. Over the years, he developed an exceptional playlist, which myself bumped today. Without further ado, it is my honor to introduce today's guest, hip-hop prodigy Treyzis. All right, back at you with another episode of C-Rod's Tell Me Your Story podcast. I'm your host, C-Rod, and I'm with you with my guest today, Treyzis.
What up, what up?
Did I do it right?
Man? Yeah, you killed it. You killed it, man.
I felt like I wasn't, but I'm glad I did.
The pressure's been alleviated.
Yeah.
You got it.
So, as I've been pursuing guests to come on my platform, so I got to talk, just to interrupt my intro. Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with the last guy who I interviewed about this, and he had some valid points, and you know, he had some good points, and even made me think about it. But he was wanting me to pay people to come on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
And what I was telling him was, I want people that want to be here. Like I want to, like you want to be here to talk to me. You came on your own accord to come talk. I don't want you to be here because I'm paying you.
Yeah, change.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Plus, like, I guess I'm just I think I'm a big dreamer because I'm like, the podcast is going to get big. And when it gets huge, people are not going to, they're going to want to be on here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to look for people to come on. Mm-hmm. But as far as that, to getting distracted, what I usually do is I usually look through Instagram and I look at local talent and YouTube and whatnot. And, I actually listened to his music before I realized he was from even here, so I was like bumping him and listening to, he has some really good tracks. If you look at a lot of my reels, they have his tracks on it. So if you go through and watch my stuff, you'll hear his stuff. But he was really sick. So I'm like, man, I'm going to message this guy. And like I said, the people that want to be here, they always message back. And he messaged me back. He lives about 3 hours from here, so it takes him a minute to get here. But as soon as we got linked up, he's here. And you know how we do at C-Rod's Tell Me a Story podcast. I sit down and I listen to people's stories and I listen to how people got to where they're at. We don't just talk to people with 1,000 million followers. We talk to everybody from one to whatever. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a struggle. Everybody has what makes them believe what they are today and where they got today. And if we just slow down and listen to each other, the world will get a lot further. And that's the point of this podcast. Sound good?
Yeah, man, dropping gems on him.
One thing is, I'm going to say this before I forget. Mm-hmm. Hit the subscribe button because I always forget and I say it at the end and I'm just like, hit the subscribe button and I end it. But it's kind of important because we got to get monetized so that I could actually get paid to do this so that we could actually make the platform grow and we could have a full-time platform for people to come in and share their stories. Just regular people, you don't have to be glamorous and, you have a place to come. It's here at C-Rod's. And so make sure you hit that subscribe button, all right? Yep. With that being said, move that mic a little bit closer.
Right here.
There you go.
Good to go.
There you
cool.
go.
Yeah.
Where you from, my brother?
So I was born in Louisiana, Leesville, Louisiana. My pops was in the military. So when I was like a baby, like we moved around a lot. But ended up moving to El Paso, Texas in, I don't know the exact year. It might have been like 2001, 2002 or something like that. And we're there for a couple of years, and my pops, he ended up retiring in El Paso, Texas. So I spent all the way from like kindergarten all the way up through high school in El Paso, Texas. And yeah, from there I went to college in New Mexico, and that's Las Cruces, which is about 45 minutes away. But growing up in El Paso, it was an interesting experience. Yeah, I would say.
I didn't know there were black people in El Paso.
Yeah, yep. So not a lot. I think the demographic breakdown is like 10% like black, and then majority is Chicano, and then the rest is like Caucasian white. So it was always interesting, growing up there because the surrounding wasn't reflective of like my culture. So I felt like for a long time there's like some slight resistance to it. I wasn't like pushing it away, but like I was reluctant to like really like engulf myself in it because I was seeking a connection to like my culture as a black man, right? And I feel like my window into that was very much like through music, specifically through hip hop. And that was a way for me to kind of connect with my culture without being in a place where it's reflected all the time. So, yeah, I mean, growing up, it was an interesting experience, and I wouldn't change anything about it. You know, it got me to where I'm at today, and it helped me, you know, come to certain perspectives and realizations, and again, ultimately make me who I am today. So, wouldn't change anything about it, but yeah, I grew up in El Paso, Texas, and
So that kind of reminds me of the last, if you go back and watch the interview I released maybe a couple of days ago, he's a barber, and he's half Jamaican and half Czech Republic.
Oh, that's a combo.
Yeah, so he grew up in the Czech Republic. And so, you know, less than 10%.
Yeah.
And he told I laugh because I'm from the South.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's where all the black people are.
For
so
sure.
I never, you know, so when he told me, he goes, they had like a meet and greet for black people there.
Yeah.
So like
That's how
all
I know
the
it's
black
wrong.
people in the region, they all got from all the country, they all come together for this meet and greet. And he found out about it, and he was so excited. He said he got really excited to meet other black people because he had never met another black person.
That's wild.
That's wild, right? Yeah, and so yeah, his struggle is kind of like a lot like yours.
Low key.
Low key.
Low key, like, yeah, it's kind of, you wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
But I've had some encounters, so you wouldn't think so, because it's like we got similar struggles, you know what I mean? So like it's interesting that happens, that plays out, but yeah, it's definitely there as well.
Did you deal with that? So I grew up in a predominantly, you know, Hispanic neighborhood, and my dad's black and my mom's Mexican, and I dealt with a lot of that. So in El Paso, and that's real. That's basically Mexico.
Absolutely,
like, you know, they speak Spanish in the streets and in the stores, 100%. Right? So, did you deal with it?
100%. Like, and like, it was never like overtly like racist, but it was like you could sense the vibe. You know what I mean? Just like in the store, and like people just like, you know, watching you, and then like a lot of older folks. Like I've been in past relationships, and you know, the older folks are kind of, you know what I mean? It's unspoken, but it's like, you know,
what are you doing with him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like subtle things like that. But speaking to your boy though, like first time like meeting black people was interesting, because like in high school, like all my friends were black and things like that, but it was a pretty like diverse kind of school though. El Paso has like the biggest like military base in the country. Oh, okay. So I think it's the biggest military base in the country. You could fact check me on that. But so we get like a lot of implants from like other places. So you have like the primarily like Chicano, you know, demographic, and then you get pools from like other places too. And I went to a high school that was technically on military property. So it was like a lot of military kids at my high school. So it was pretty mixed bag as far as like my friend group goes. But I feel like I often was faced with this kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like this feeling inside of like, I'm black, but am I black enough? And then like I'm not Chicano or Latinx, so I'm not necessarily going to be 100% accepted with them, and like kind of like this weird in between place. And I remember like very clearly, there's this time I was in college, and I think we were like leaving a tailgate. I had just met some folks, and we were all hanging out, and we were in the car, and I was talking to this girl, and she was like, I don't know how it came up, but she was like, I was like, yeah, I'm like full black. And she was like, oh, you're not really black though.
What the fuck does that mean?
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, I'm like, okay. And it's crazy because like we get these certain perspectives of like how a certain type of person should behave and how they should act.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's such a limiting mindset because people are people at the end of the day.
Does it matter, right?
Exactly.
I've dealt with that my whole life, and what does it matter?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
what does it matter? But
it's wild. But
I can't stand how that's kind of like she stereotyped you, like
exactly. And she was black too, so I was like, if anybody should get the struggle, like,
oh my god,
you know what I mean? Like,
you threw that one out of nowhere. Like, I didn't expect. I thought she was gonna be Latina.
No, and I mean, I've gotten it from like Latinos too and Latinas, so like it's across the board, and it's like,
well, what do they expect you to be like?
Just like the stereotypical, you know, like quote unquote like rapper kind of persona, you know what I mean? Like from the like streets and stuff like that. Like, I grew up lower middle class, and I wasn't like banging or anything like that. I was just
a regular guy.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's like media, you know what I mean? They paint different demographics in a certain picture.
Yeah.
And when they meet somebody that doesn't fit that picture, it's like, oh.
I had some guy, what I used to work with, he told me, he's like, what are you? You know, what are you? And I said, well, my mom's Mexican and my dad's black. Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, you're not dark. There's no way. I was like, what? He's like, you know, you're not dark. Mm-hmm. That's not true. You got to check that out. I was like, so that same thing, they have like a stereotypical.
Exactly.
He was a white guy, you know. So. But so do you have siblings?
Yeah, so I got 2 older brothers.
The baby?
I'm the baby.
Oh.
Yeah, so my oldest brother, he's back in El Paso. He's 36, I think. But yeah, big influence on me, especially like music wise, you know. And yeah, he's always been a good role model for me, and he's very business minded. And in college, he was doing like his own clothing line, and you know, I would always rep the stuff, and started a food truck, and that like grew into like a storefront that he has in El Paso now. And
nice.
He's a graphic designer, and yeah, wow. So he was a great role
successful.
Model. Yeah, and then my other brother Cameron, he's out in New York. I want to say he's 31, but he's out in New York. He's always been kind of a free spirit and kind of like just go out to when I'm gonna make it happen. So he was living in Dallas for a while, came back to El Paso, and then he's living in New York now. He's living in Brooklyn, and he's wardrobe styling, and he's making moves, and I'm really proud of him. And he's also been a great role model for me as far as just like chasing your dreams, you know. And he's been working on movies, and he's making it happen, which is like great to see. And I'm super blessed to have both of them in my life. So
yeah, you're 2 successful brothers.
Yeah. So
how far are they apart from you?
So my oldest brother is 9 years. So he's 36. He's 34, 35. He's 35 and I'm
30 some. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess. And then Cameron, my middle brother, I want to say he's 31, so it's like 5 years.
So you didn't get to go to like school with them or none of that stuff?
Nah, there's like very brief, like I was in 1st grade and Cameron was in 5th grade or something like that, but we weren't like interacting
I get
in that capacity though. So
you just hung out with all your friends and stuff? Exactly.
But
what about your parents? What are they like?
So my parents, they love both my parents very much. Mom, she's super creative, and you know, back in the day she was super into sewing, and she would make like these fabric kind of like painting kind of things and stuff like that, but definitely more on the creative side. And then my pops, I feel like he's a little more on the analytical side of things, and he's very much more like business minded and very strong work ethic and things like that. But yeah, going into high school, my parents actually split up. So I ended up staying with my mom all throughout high school. So during those like really formative years, like I was like with my mom a lot of the time. My dad was around, but like at that time I was kind of like, my mom was like, she was like the cool parent. She was super chill and stuff. Yeah. Like she was.
Your dad was stricter.
He was a little stricter, so I was like, I'm
going to mom's house.
Exactly, you know what I mean. So,
but was he around, or did he just?
Yeah, he was around. I feel like there was a time where, like, I subconsciously was kind of like pushing him away a little bit. But I mean, it also like goes into like my mom. She was much more chill, and my dad was strict. So of course, as a high schooler,
Yeah, you want to be with the chill.
exactly, you know what I mean. So yeah, but they're both in El Paso, and like I saw them on a regular basis. So yeah.
So you had both parents in your life and
Yeah.
stuff. You know, I think that makes me think like mamas want to raise their babies and daddies want to raise a man.
No, and that's real. That's super real. And I mean, looking back at it in retrospect, I kind of wish I would have spent more time during those formative years with my pops. Because looking back, it's like having that strong, like masculine influence is like super important. And again, I credit to my older brother because like when I wasn't always kicking it with my dad, like my brother was around, and he would take me to like concerts, like hip hop concerts. And when I was 16, like
that's cool.
We saw like Schoolboy Q and Tech Nine and Joey Badass and Souls of Mischief, like wild stuff. Souls of Mischief was like my second concert ever. So super grateful for him. And again, like he had a big influence on my music taste just in general.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So always call your dad, man. Talk to your parents.
100%.
I think I said this like the last couple podcasts, so I don't want to be repetitive, but my dad just passed away. Well, my stepdad. I never really knew my real dad, but my stepdad, he raised me.
Yeah.
And he just passed away, and I regret not calling him and doing those little things.
100%.
Because you go on to life, you start pursuing rap, or you got your kids, or, and you start living your life, and you forget about those loved ones.
100%.
Don't make that mistake, bro, because you'll sit down and you'll think, damn, I could have called him this day. You'll have the day and the time in your mind where you missed the time to talk to him.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you bring that up because like as I've gotten older, like I've definitely have like resonated with that message more because like I'm very much like an introvert, and it's very easy for me to just lock into like what I'm doing and just
I know.
not reach out to anybody. But like as I've gotten older and like spent time away from my family, I've realized like how important they are, and I try to call them on a regular basis, and I'm grateful enough to still have my grandparents around, and they're actually on the EP. So
nice.
So I have a song where I sampled like a phone call with my grandparents, and yeah, it's just super special to me, just to be able to have that, because again, like another big influence was my grandpa. And every summer, like my extended family, a lot of them are from Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. So every summer my grandpa would come and pick us up, and then he would drive to El Paso, pick us up, and then drive back to Kansas. And he would always play like all types of like oldies, like Bill Withers and Gil Scott-Heron and The Last Poets and Nina Simone. And I was just in the back seat, like
soaking
6 to 10 years old, just like listening to like this very like potent music, you know what I mean, with like just like a really rich like message in it. And I don't know, it was very influential. So a lot of influences from my family. Just in regards to like my artistic practice though, like I feel like there's two pathways that are happening simultaneously. And starting like with photography, I probably spent most of my life like as a photographer, and I started off as like a little kid, like making, Lego Movie. Have you seen Lego Movie?
Yeah.
So I would do like little stop motion videos and upload them to YouTube. They weren't that good, but I was enjoying them. So I always kind of had a camera with me in some capacity, like since I was a kid. And with school and stuff, like I was a very middle of the road student. I'm actually dyslexic, so like school was like never like something that was like came super easy to me or something I was like super excited about. Yeah. But in high school, I ended up taking this photography class, and I just excelled like a lot. And it was something like, even when I got home from school, like I was still like thinking about photography and thinking about images to make and things like that. So, I took that as a sign, like this is something I should do. And that took me into college. But backtracking a little bit, I also had this love for hip hop from a very young age. I remember I had like several anthems when I was a youngin', but I remember like in 5th grade, like I loved Chain Hang Low. You know that song?
Yeah. Hit your chain, hang low.
Do it well to the flow. Like that was my anthem when I always come to school with the little vending machine chains. Like I thought I was just flossing on everybody. That was my anthem, and I remember watching like old Millionaire videos and all types of stuff on YouTube, and just being enamored with it. And I think I always had a love for hip hop, but even as a kid, I was very like socially aware, and this was like early 2000s. So like during this time, hip hop was getting like a real bad rap, you know, for being like degrading to women and like glorifying materialism and all types of things like that. And I feel like there was always a part of me that like wanted to rap, but I didn't want those stigmas to be attached to me. So I just kind of was like, oh, I can't do that. And yeah, I just put it in the back pocket, but it was something I always enjoyed, you know what I mean? Just as a fan, like a super fan. Like,
so you were pursuing photography. You didn't want to be a rapper at that point.
I didn't, no.
Oh.
So yeah, I always enjoyed it as a fan, and music has always just been super influential. Just like I enjoy making photos and enjoy like making photographs, and there are images that move me, but I feel like the things that move me the most are like songs that like really like hit me on like on a visceral level. Mm-hmm. So big influence was like Lupe Fiasco, like Outkast. Those are probably the two like biggest influences, and yeah, they kind of, I feel like a lot of these artists, what they talked about in their songs, they essentially like gave me the words that I didn't think I had. You know, like I was feeling like a lot of different things, and I didn't always know how to articulate it. And then I would hear this song, and I was like, that's exactly how I'm feeling. And it would just really like resonate. So
that's how I feel with like Sam Cooke and and Lean on Me and Stand By Me, all those songs.
Feel the soul in it, you know. Like
they were going through a lot more than what people are nowadays.
No, 100%. Like pales in comparison, but yeah. So I, going back to photography, I ended up going to school for photography. Went to New Mexico State University, and I pursued a degree in fine art, and that was a pretty formative experience. It just kind of changed the way how I thought about images and art, and just kind of my role as a creator in the world. And our program was I feel like it was pretty like conceptual based. So it was like anybody could make an image, anybody could paint a picture, but it's like, what are you trying to say with it? You know what I mean? And I feel like that really further ingrained the importance of having a message and having, you know, something that you're striving for, and being able to connect with other people through your artwork. So yeah, I went through school. I did photography, and at the end of your degree in fine arts, you had to do like a thesis project. And my thesis project was called Ascendancy of Perception, and a lot of these images were very much influenced by a contemporary photographer. His name is Hank Willis Thomas, and he has these they're almost like commercial-esque kind of images, like images you would see like in an advertisement or something, but with very like loaded, you know, messagings around being Black and the Black experience and the commodification of culture and things like that. So he was a big influence on me stylistically. But my project was essentially about how our media consumption habits influence the world around, how we see the world around us.
Yeah.
So like we always hear, you know, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
I think that could be taken further to your media diet. And I'll credit Saul Williams for terming like media diet. That's where I heard it from. But basically like what you read, what you watch, the music you listen to it all kind of plays an influence on how you see the world around you. And thinking about it from like two different perspectives, right? Like if you're like a kid, like growing up in the city, and similar to me, if like your main outlet for like entertainment is music, and you're only listening to like what's on the radio, you're gonna get a vastly different message than what you'll find like on the internet. And I feel like when you listen to the radio, there's a very clear disparity between super positive messaging and not so positive messaging. And not saying one doesn't have a place, but it's very clear that there's a lack of balance, right? And if you're a kid like growing up just listening to what's on the radio and stuff like that, and you know you're striving to be like a rapper, and all this rapper's talking about is like money, drugs, and like women, naturally you're gonna align with that. Versus like our artist who is like talking about knowledge itself and like the importance of giving back to your community and, you know, starting your own business and like, you know, empowering stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good stuff.
Exactly. And again, like everybody's telling their own story. And like, I'm not saying like some stories are more valuable than others, but again, there is a severe lack of balance in the ecosystem. So if you're a kid, you know, you're growing up, it's like, oh, this is what I need to do in order to make it. But in reality, like, it's not that black and white. And then on the flip side, right, if you're looking at the world to a television screen, and this is kind of going back to our conversation, if you're looking at the world to a television screen, you're going to have a very limited perspective on how the world actually is. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be in regards to, like, your political views. That's going to be in regards to how you see race and, like, everything. So the project was essentially about that, and it was a lot of studio portraiture with like practical effects and things like that. So in that project, I'm about to finish up school, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. And I always had this love for music, and like inside of me, there was this urge to rap, but I was waiting for permission. I was waiting for somebody to give me permission.
First step.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I did this poem. It was called Live from the USA. And it was a video loop of me doing this this poem, kind of just encompassing everything in the thesis. And yeah, this is my first time like ever like showing any like poetry or anything like this. And I had like overwhelming like positive feedback on it. And from there, I was like, yeah, poetry's super dope. I did a couple more poems and stuff like that. But then it got to the point where I was like, I really just want to rap. Yeah. So I'm going to just rap. Yeah. You know? So yeah, that's kind of how it started to like converge. And kind of my photography, my background in photography, in a way, kind of led me to the music as well. And they're still in conversation, you know. I do a lot of my own album art. I do a lot of my own visuals and stuff like that. So I'm still always practicing photography with my music as well. So,
yeah. But you're cold. You gotta stick to music, bro.
I appreciate it.
You're cold as hell. You're gonna make it for sure.
I appreciate it.
So, fine. So you went. How long does it take to get a fine arts degree? Is it
4 years.
So you went 4 years. Mm-hmm. Wow. And what college was that again?
New Mexico State University.
That's right, La Cruz.
Las Cruces, yep.
Do you speak Spanish?
I don't.
Bro, come on.
I know. I kick myself in the butt for that, but...
Where you grew up in El Paso and went to college?
I know. It's...
You should be fluent.
I should be 100%. And
what about your parents?
My dad speaks a little bit. My mom doesn't speak Spanish. But in high school, like, I kind of got played, I feel. It was partially my own fault, but like I could kind of blame it on the education system too. But like in Texas, like you have to take Spanish classes, at least where I was at. I had to take at least 2 years. And the first year, like my Spanish 1 teacher, she was like super chill, and she was like not engaged at all.
She didn't teach you anything.
Exactly. So I passed Spanish 1 with doing like the bare minimal and then I ended up in Spanish 2, and I didn't know a lick of Spanish. So I had to retake Spanish 2, barely passed it, and then, so. But in college, all my roommates spoke Spanish. So they would have conversations, and the more I'm around it, I could kind of pick up on what people are saying.
Yeah.
But since I've been up in Colorado, I've been out of practice, so I would have to like readjust to it.
So I had this conversation with this guy in jail.
Yeah.
He kept saying, because I don't speak Spanish very good, but I do understand very fluently.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to this guy in jail. He was telling me the same thing.
Yeah.
So I understand it all the time. And I kept saying, well, what if they don't direct it to you, or they don't use the correct emotion to what they're saying?
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, no, I understand. Well, just so happens he didn't understand, because they started talking about jumping this fool in front of him.
And he was like, yeah.
He didn't know what they were saying,
Yeah.
because they weren't like all serious. They were smiling.
Yeah.
And they're going, this guy doesn't know what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
When we lock down, we're going to get him when he gets in his bunk, and
That's
this
crazy.
and that. And right in front of him. And he had no clue what they were saying. I was thinking, I didn't say shit, but I was thinking, you don't know Spanish, motherfucker. You would say something.
No, that's a part of it for sure. Like, yeah.
So, did you have a ton of friends growing up? What kind of stuff were you getting into in El Paso? What are y'all doing this? What's going on in El Paso?
El Paso, I feel like it depends on which crowd you're running with, but at least for me, I was a pretty good kid for the most part, stayed out of trouble. Yeah, but like, I mean, honestly, like, I feel like everybody says this about the place that they grow up, but I feel like there's not a lot to do in El Paso. You know what I mean?
It's not small.
It's not
small.
I think the last time I looked at the demographics, it was like 600,000.
Yeah, it's a good sized city.
But it's kind of spread out, though. That's the thing. Everything takes like 30 minutes.
Like San Antonio is spread out.
Yeah, it's like super spread out. So, and like a lot of neighborhoods. So yeah, but I would do like a lot of street photography. So I would be out on the streets, like photographing like down by the border and stuff for like 20 minutes from the border. So a lot of street photography and stuff like that. A lot of video games. I was really big into video games, me and my friends. So
did you visit Mexico?
I went a couple of times, in college. It was, you got to think though, El Paso on the other side of the border is Juarez.
Yeah.
And like for a long time, it was like you didn't want to be in Juarez.
I never understood how El Paso is the safest city in America, and Juarez was like the murder capital of the world.
Yeah.
I always thought people in El Paso probably just dumped their bodies in Juarez.
Probably, honestly.
It doesn't even look, because I've driven through El Paso. It don't look like the safest city in the world. I was like, this shit look kind of hood.
I mean, again, and it's going to just be a matter of like who you rolling with at the end of the day. But I feel like it is pretty family oriented. But with that in mind, with it being the safest city, it's like we got border patrol like all over the city. We got police all over the city. So it's like, because like Juarez was like popping off, and this was like mid 2000s. Like,
has it calmed down over there? I don't know. I haven't looked it up lately.
It's calmed down significantly. I'm sure there's still stuff happening over there, but I feel like you could go over there without
dying.
Yeah, like you don't have to put your head on the swivel as much. And again, it's just a matter of who you're associating with.
That's anywhere.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like if you're kicking with people who are looking for trouble, you're gonna find some trouble.
Yeah, so you always hear people talk about, oh, whatever city, it's hard over there, this and that. It doesn't matter where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
You could be in a town of 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for trouble, you're gonna find it.
Exactly.
It's there.
Exactly.
And it's there. And I'm gonna tell you something else about them little small towns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was that one.
Those guys know how to fight. Small towns, they be fighting. God damn.
Absolutely.
They be scrapping. So,
absolutely. It was.
I grew up small town.
Yeah.
I grew up in Texas and Kentucky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I know about Texas.
South, yeah.
Yeah, South. So I got in an argument in Kentucky, and I almost got shot. So I stopped saying this, but Kentucky's Midwest. It's Midwest.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, look on the map. It's Midwest. If you look on the map in the demographics, Midwest.
No, that's real.
I think we might have been in the Union. I'm not sure. I don't know the history.
That's wild.
But if you say that, oh, shit. Oh, the guy started screaming at me, literally, and I'm not screaming.
Yeah.
We're in the SEC. We're not in the Midwest Division. That is the Southeastern Conference.
This man was passionate about it.
He was passionate.
It's like, I know where I live.
Yeah, we were mad. Don't say that in Kentucky. Don't say that.
Good to know. I'm taking notes.
But it is the Midwest, but you're not allowed to say that.
I feel like I've heard people say Colorado's the Southwest. I'm like, Colorado is not the Southwest.
That's like Mountain West.
It's the West, but it's not the Southwest. You know?
Yeah, it's West.
So
that's like I was talking to another guy. He does like interviews and hip hop stuff. I asked him what was because like when I was growing up, if you heard West Coast rap, instantly knew it. If you heard East Coast rap,
yeah.
Instantly, you instantly knew it. So I was like, what's Colorado sound? And his answer was, it's just a melting pot. There's not real sound here. You know what I mean?
100%.
But I think like nowadays, a lot of rap does sound the same though. Like no matter where, it's not, maybe you could still hear it. Maybe I'm just too old and I'm not in the game enough. But it was a very distinct difference when I was growing up.
No, for sure. Because I've thought about this a lot. I feel like the rise of the internet has made like those distinctions a lot more blurry, because it's like I could be on the West Coast and I can know a producer out on the East Coast, grab a East Coast beat and rap on it and sound like I'm from New York, and like language has changed now. Like slang, like you used to get like regional slang, and it's still around to a degree, but like with the internet, like anybody from anywhere can grab a piece of like New York slang and just incorporate it into their own vocabulary. Yeah. And it just makes that sense of, accents and vernacular just like a lot more ambiguous, know?
Well, see, I'm 42. You're 26.
Yeah.
So let's just see how much the slang. So let's see. And when I was growing up, we would say stuff like, what's cracking?
What's cracking?
Do people still say that?
I don't, nah.
It's
probably like, what's popping, like what's good. Kind of a variation of what's cracking, like what's popping. I feel like that's probably the closest.
We say dope. That's dope.
I still say dope.
You still say dope?
But I feel like that's kind of like going out. I feel like a lot of people are saying that's like that shit's fire.
It's fire.
That shit's busting. That shit's gas. I
don't recognize none of that shit. Fire to me is some good ass weed. There we go. Fire.
It's both ways.
If someone says fire, I'm like, where? So we used to say, what else? What we used to do, like dances have changed a lot.
Oh, 100%.
We were doing Running Man and Cabbage Patches.
We got the gritty and all types of stuff.
I know. I couldn't. Y'all's dancing nowadays take too much energy. You blow a hip out.
And it's like I be seeing videos online, and it's like some of these cats be moving crazy. And I'm like,
popping, boy.
I'm 26 and like my knees be hurting, and I'm like, I don't know.
Isn't it crazy though how much the culture has spread throughout the world?
Yeah, it's
like have you seen them in Japan? They have like a lot of rappers in the black culture. But they also have a lot of rappers in like Latino culture, like lowriders and
wait, in Japan?
In Japan,
yo, that's crazy.
Like lowriders and like khaki suits, traditional, Latin, Latin culture, They got cholo glasses and the Cortez is on. And
that's wild.
Yeah, look it up. They got I was watching a video. And it looked like you think it was East LA, and they're like, it was in Tokyo. I was like, what the freak?
I don't think I've ever like had that picture in my head, like a lowrider just strolling through Tokyo, dude.
Well, who's that one rapper? He's really famous in Hispanic community, but he's not Mexican. And he growing up, I used to listen to him too. I didn't know too.
He's not Mexican?
No, he's Pakistani. Is it Capone?
I don't know.
I don't remember his name. They're
know.
gonna blow us up in the comments.
I know, like you don't know that.
How you don't know? But he's growing up. His albums were like Fararasa and this and that. But he's Pakistan. But I think he grew up there or something. Yeah, don't come shoot me. I'm just saying. Okay.
Don't want any smoke.
So
No, I feel that.
how did you just go out and just be like, okay, I'm doing poetry. Let me turn this into some bars.
Yeah, because there's very much a rap cadence to like a lot of these pieces I was doing, minus the beat.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just throw a beat on and, actually construct it like a song versus a poem because they're kind of formatted a little differently.
Yeah.
But I feel like the transition was super seamless because, again, like such a fan of music. And two, I always associated with musicians like throughout college. And again, before I started making music, like I was shooting music videos for different people. At the time, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. You know what I mean? But, I'm thankful for the folks who trusted me and allowed me to like shoot their videos and do like album covers and photo shoots with them. And yeah, so I was always around.
You was picking the game up.
Exactly. So when it was time for me to actually release something, I was like, oh, so I got to get my song ready. I got to get my rollout material. I got to make sure it's like mixed and matched. You know what I mean? Like, like I knew what to do before
you did it.
Exactly.
Was it fire?
I think so. Yeah. So the first official song I dropped was called 365. And yeah, like looking back, like, there's some stuff I would change about it. It's literally my first song, but I think it's a solid song, and I think it still speaks to like who I am. And my buddy, his name is Larry Jackson III. I knew him from college too, and he was in the film department, and he like reached out. He was like, "Hey, let's shoot a music video for this," and I was like, "For sure." So
let's do it.
And this was still like COVID era, so we were all masked up and stuff. But yeah, we shot a music video at some random house, and yeah, it was definitely like a moment. You know what I mean? Like my first song, first music video, and it was super sick. And from there, it was just kind of, I just got the bug for it. Like the fire got lit inside of me, and it's just like music. You know what I mean? It was new and exciting. I've been doing photography for years and years and years, so it was like, I know all the fundamentals and stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? Not saying that there's stuff I can't still learn, but I'm at a point to where it's like I know I can make a great image. You know what I mean? And then with the music, it was like so much new like terminology and jargon and all this stuff. It was just like a new world, so it's just like really exciting to be a part of.
Do you how much time are you spending in the studio?
So it's kind of a gray area because I got a home studio, so it's like
every day.
You know what I mean? Like I live in the studio, but if I get very like I get like hyper focused. So if I start writing, the hardest part is starting. Like it's always the hardest part is starting. But like once I start, I could lock in and write for like 2 or 3 hours. And it's not like I'm just like writing bars for days. My approach is like when I'm writing a song, it's very much like a puzzle piece. You know what I mean? It's seeing like where things fit and seeing where it can make sense and kind of like constructing it in that kind of way.
You want some bad advice?
What's up?
I got some horrible advice.
All right, lay it on me.
So when I told you I used to rap. Mm-hmm. I never wrote nothing on a piece of paper. Not one time.
That's kind of wild. That was just off the top, or you just memorized it?
I make it in my head.
That's wild.
Not one thing I ever wrote on a piece of paper.
That's
wild.
Try it. And I think about like cats like Jay-Z and stuff, where it's like never.
Does he do the same?
He never writes.
Yeah, I never wrote on a piece of paper. Now, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. I go and I'll sit down in like my office or somewhere, roll like 3 blunts, just sit there,
let it flow,
and 2 or 3 hours, I'll have a song in my head. Okay. Hook, verses, everything.
Dang.
I don't write shit down.
That's wild. Like,
Yeah.
And it's a great skill set because you can kind of do it on the fly.
You know why I did that?
Why?
It's because I felt like it was more fluent in my delivery.
No, I feel that.
I'm not reading or writing.
No, I feel that. And because I've like heard that in my own songs. Like there's certain songs where I feel like it sounds like I'm reading it. And I feel like I figured out the remedy to it, which is record the song like I'm reading it or whatever. And then just get like a little demo going and then just loop it over and over until I get it memorized. So then when I re-record it, I'm not trying to read and like deliver like a cadence at the same time. I can just focus on like delivering like a cadence.
I get it.
So
same thing, just all in your head.
Yeah.
Same exactly what you're doing. So you get a song in my head, boom, 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 and then you could sing it to yourself. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. You're singing it to yourself, and then before you know it, you have that whole song in your head.
It's wild.
Yeah. It could take a day.
Yeah. I would have to readjust. Like, I'm definitely interested in doing it, but I feel like my memory is so spotty, though. I just be remembering random.
You gotta sing it over and over. I'll show you.
That's real.
I'll show you one I have in my head after this. I can't do it on camera because it might get jacked.
People stealing bars out here.
They be stealing bars out here, Carlo Mencia style. Man, I was watching some stuff on that guy. He still can't admit it. Really? Say you did it already.
Just, everybody knows.
Everybody knows you did it. Like, just do it. That's a big thing in comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, stealing people's shit.
Yeah, like Cat Williams, he was going off on him, and that was like a moment.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No, it was like recent too. Cat Williams was like calling all types of people out.
Oh yeah, I did see an interview with Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
Who would have thought Shannon Sharp be doing interviews?
I know, right?
I didn't see that coming.
I know, he's like out of nowhere too.
Yeah, just his whole. He was like, what was he, a tight end? Mm-hmm. Broncos?
I'm not sure.
But like, he was a tight end when I was growing up in football, NFL football. And now he's like a low key interviewer.
He's been getting some good interviews, so it's working out.
Some good ones too.
It's working out, so
yeah. All right, back at you from our break. Before we started going in on something real bad. I was switching out some equipment. When I was growing up in the 90s, it was how lyrical are you?
Yeah.
How lyrical are you? They don't want to hear you say is this some bullshit. You had people like Pac, Biggie, Nas,
Mos Def.
Just there were so many. I can go on. Big Pun.
Yep.
Big Pun. Crazy bars, you know what I mean?
Talk about finding a pocket too.
Yeah. I was Big Pun was hard as heck. But like nowadays, man, I can almost know how you sound before if you come up to me and tell me you're a rapper. I almost know how your flow is before you start rapping. Don't lie, you know it's true.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah. 100%.
But here's the thing, though: is do you blame them because that's what people want?
No, 100%.
They don't want different.
100%. And like, again, like it's like I've had to come to terms with it, and it's like I'm not gonna compromise.
No,
like,
you do what you're doing. Yeah, you do.
I'm not gonna compromise what I do, but it is something that I keep in mind, and because of that, I'll do my lyrical miracle stuff in my verses. But when that hook comes on, it's like we're about to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like something everybody could rock.
We gonna hit the Bentley truck.
Yeah.
It's gonna be something bumping.
There we go. So
I agree with you, but I could never understand why nobody wants. You ever seen that reel they got playing nowadays? How it's a reel where they're making fun of how kids nowadays listen to conscious rap.
Nah.
Yeah.
Is it a guy and he's like doing gibberish rap?
Yeah, he's like, that's how they hear it. That's how they hear it. That sucks, but it's true.
I mean, it is what it is, and like.
But I think though what you have going for you is that, and it doesn't matter what genre of music it is or who. Basically, even movies or whether it's a podcast, something that will make you push you is being relatable.
100%.
these guys, and now here's the thing about rapping that gangster shit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them do live that like that. I'm not saying they don't. A lot of them do, and a lot of them don't.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: when you start saying you live like that, and you start blowing up, you have to uphold that image, and then you actually have to start living like that.
Yeah.
And I never want to glamorize that lifestyle or glamorize anything about that. You'll never hear me talk about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, as someone who has been there,
mm-hmm.
and when I say there, I mean there's levels to this shit. You
100%.
know what I mean? As someone who has been there at the highest levels, I never enjoyed it, and there was nothing glamorous about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not anything glamorous about it. I hated it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It wasn't fun. You know what I mean? So when you see these guys in these videos showing their guns and and I'm on the corner, this and that shit's not fun.
Yeah.
That shit, when I sat at my house with my gun in my hand, it wasn't fun.
Stressful, right?
It was fucking shitty. I'll tell you stories. I was so I used to run a trap house. I'm running this trap house, right?
Yeah.
And every night, stays busy. Well, this night it started busy and then just went dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Fuck all the hypes, what's going on?" And so I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, it's dead. So I'm going out. I'm getting paranoid. I'm like, the cops coming. Like, somebody rat. I'm looking on the block, checking out, walking down, looking around the house and shit. And my homeboy calls me and he's like, "Bro, what are you doing over there?" He's like, "All these hypes are scared to go to your house because you've been answering the door with a pistol."
Yeah.
So you just don't even think about that stuff. You're so
100%.
deep in the game. You know what I mean? I'm answering the door. I'm
Just
thinking
ready,
they can't see it. I'm thinking in my mind they can't see this shit. I'm like cocked. I'm not answering the door like this. I'm answering the door
like ready.
I'm like, if you snap, I'm gonna bust you. Like, don't even twitch.
100%.
You know what I mean? So, but I'm like, when I open the door, I'm opening it like this. So I'm thinking it's on this side of the door.
Yeah.
They can't see shit.
What's up?
But everybody knew.
Yeah.
So like nobody came to my house that whole night, bro. And I'm like, I ain't making no money. What's going on? He called me and he's like, "Yo, I'm booming over here." He's like, everybody's coming over here. He's like, "What'd you do?"
Sending them business.
Yeah, he said, "Everybody said you answering the door with the gun." He scared everybody. But that's just an example of that life's not fun.
No, 100%. And it's like, and again, like to your point, it's like there are people who are living it and people who aren't. And I feel like early on with my music and just with my artwork, I was like, if I can make it relatable, it's going to do so much better because that's going to be the music that stands the test of time.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, you'll get artists who like ride the waves and ride the trends and like, they'll get a quick like bubble up, but it's like the quicker they rise, the quicker they fall. And for me, it's like, I'm trying to get a slow rise, and build a community of people, of like-minded people, a community that I would want to be a part of and that I am a part of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're all on the same page about different things. You know what I mean? So
no, if I bring in 10 people and I set you there and I set a gangster over there, 10 of those people are going to relate with you.
one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe one might relate with it. They might glamorize him, but they're going to relate with you. They're not going to relate. This guy's like, "Yeah, when I grew up, I'll be on the block selling dope." They're like, "What?" I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
And it's like, and that's like another thing. It's like, a lot of hip hop is about the spectacle.
Yeah.
I feel.
I could agree with that.
You know what I mean? And it's like, going back to this idea, it's like, I got to put on this show. I got to put on this show and like maintain this image and stuff like that. But it's like, just live your life. You know what I mean? And like, if you're living a fulfilling life, the spectacle will be within that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do all this stuff for fronts. You know what I mean? So
no, I agree with that. My mind travels, and I just thought about something that I watched before we had this interview.
What's up?
Did you see the video of biting and eating fried chicken?
What?
With black people?
Wait, was this recent or a couple years ago?
It just happened.
No, I haven't.
So I didn't get to see it all because it was when I was getting ready. But I'm gonna pull that up and watch it. But there's a video of him went to some black people's home.
Oh my God.
Bring some fried chicken.
That is so out of pocket. That's
and then
crazy.
he said some stuff like I don't quote me. You might want to fact check me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm right. I just kind of caught ass into this.
Mm-hmm.
But he said some stuff like, poor kids are good, just as good as the white kids.
Oh my God.
Like,
that's crazy.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So much like disconnect, just so disconnected. You know what I mean? Like, wild.
Whose idea was that, right?
I know who's on their PR team, like making these decisions. Like, you need somebody else.
What it was in my mind. This is how I see it. They're like, we're gonna come have you talk to this family, sir. And he's like, oh sure. Well, who are they? And he's seen they're black, and he's like, I got an idea. Let's bring some fried chicken.
So I got a bucket. They're gonna eat this shit up.
They're gonna eat this shit up, man. They're gonna love us.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure it's KFC. Nah, man, get churches. We gotta get churches.
They did a little research. Oh man.
You gotta look that up.
No, I will. And not to get too political with it, but it was like, for one, it's like when like people do stuff like that, you can immediately tell how disingenuous
That's so
it is.
disingenuous.
And it's like Trump just like released these sneakers, and they're like, yeah, we're trying to appeal to the black community because they like sneakers, you know. Like, I'm like, okay. It's crazy.
You know what else we like? Jobs.
Right? Like, I'm trying to get
Education.
paid. Trying to get paid. Like, come on now.
You know what else we need? Better schools. How about that one?
That's a big one, man. That's a big one.
No, I need to start talking more about trending topics in my podcast anyway, so it's okay.
No, I feel it.
Because I usually just talk about what I want. And what I want's never trending. You know?
Until you make it trending.
Until you make it trending.
They see a clip and they're like, God, this is what we need to be talking about.
I had one clip the other day that I should have released it, but I didn't release it. I guess in an interview, I didn't remember saying it, but I was talking shit about cops.
Yeah.
And I was talking about how I seen a big, fat, 350-pound cop and how outrun his ass. I was like, that motherfucker ain't catching me.
Post it up.
Yeah, and then in the clip, I started saying, you think he's going to fight somebody? If somebody resists arrest, what do you think he's going to do?
He's going to lay on him.
He's going to shoot him.
100%.
He's not going to want to fight. He's not going to be able to fight nobody.
My life was in danger.
Yeah, so I made this clip up, and then I started watching it, and I was like, I better not release that. I'm on episode 17. Shit, it takes like 200 before you blow up. And I'm like,
consistency.
Yeah, I'm gonna be done at 17 if I let this shit go.
And they're gonna go in the back catalog too. Like, hey, we found this clip of you from 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, 3 years ago. See, Rod.
You know what I mean?
So, what do you think about that? How they do that to people?
I kind of don't fuck with it because it's like, I mean, case by case basis, right? But things change and people change.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And like, if you watch like reality TV from the early 2000s, they were saying all types of out of pocket shit.
Oh yeah,
like all types of out of pocket shit on those shows. But that's just like not justifying it, but that's what the culture was, and things were acceptable then that aren't necessarily acceptable now, for better or for worse. You know what I mean?
You're right. Yeah.
But I think people change. People can learn from their mistakes. And again, it's on a case by case basis because some people be doing some real weird stuff.
Yeah, like, oh, you can't let that slide.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like R. Kelly. But you know what I mean? But yeah, it's a case by case basis. But I always like, reminder for myself and a reminder for like other people, it's that like people aren't like one thing. You know what I mean? And there's something of value you can learn from anybody. Whether you hate them, whether they're a shitty person, they can deliver a gym.
It's true.
You know, like,
it's true. And
it's, not even like balance because like some stuff outweighs other stuff. But again, it's like you can learn something from everything, from everybody, and people aren't just one thing.
Yeah.
People are complex individuals, and you're not going to agree with everything they say, which is normal because we're all people with our own opinions, and you know what I mean?
We're not supposed to agree with it. That's a cult.
Exactly.
If everybody agreed with each other, it would be a cult.
Exactly. And it's like, if we don't agree, that doesn't mean like, oh, you're not with me, you're against me kind of mindset.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
all right, we're not on the same page, but that doesn't mean we can't be cordial, can't be cool. You know what I mean? It's like
No, I agree.
you're a different person, and I'm a different person.
I agree with you 110% on that. That's kind of like this what this podcast is for.
100%.
Like think about how many, because you know how YouTube shows you your age.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, we have I think one of them is 13 to 17.
Yep.
So like I think we're at like almost 20%.
Oh, that's what's up.
And so think about how many 13, 17-year-olds who like to take photographers.
Yep.
Growing up in Hispanic communities and who write poetry are going to watch this and think, damn, I could do that. You see what I mean, though?
And that's ultimately the goal. You know what I mean? For me, because it was like, I remember growing up as a kid and it was like, just feeling very isolated. You know what I mean? Like growing up on the internet, you know, early internet, you get exposed to a lot of shit that probably kids shouldn't be exposed to. You know what I mean? And I remember just feeling just real isolated. And my goal is to like reach those who are feeling that same thing, who feel like they're on an island, and let them know that they're not alone.
Yeah.
And at least through my music and through my art, if it's anything that I've realized, it's like the more personal I get, like with my experience and the things that I don't necessarily want to share, weirdly enough, that's like the most universal, and that's the things that people resonate the most with.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks they're alone. Mm-hmm. And like maybe that's how things are designed, to make us feel alone, but we're not alone. Mm-hmm. You know? So that's my goal, is to reach the youth, reach the people who feel like they don't have a voice, and let them know that like you could do what you set your mind to, and you're not alone, like in anything. Like there's always going to be a community for you somewhere. It's just a matter of finding that community.
It's true.
So
there's always, if we could all just get along, right? Like Rodney King,
right?
Can't we all just get along?
Be so much simpler.
Yeah.
Be so much simpler.
But it's what it is that we want people to believe what we believe, and we don't want to accept their beliefs.
That's real.
You know, I have a lot of, I've learned to do that. I don't know how. I've been blessed. Mm-hmm. So I have, if you look at my genetics, I have literally every race in me except for Asian.
Everything.
Everything. I'll show it to you. It's like this long.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. You when you go through my DNA, it's like this. You scroll for a while. And so I've just been blessed so something that I do that helps me, and because of this, I've been able to make friends, and you could believe something that I don't agree with, and I don't hold that against you, nor do I want to change your mind.
100%.
You know, that's the thing, like say, to make it easy, you're a Democrat, I'm Republican. Not that we are, I'm just using them examples, people, before you trip out. But like, you could believe all of that, and I could believe all what I believe, mm-hmm. and we could still be best friends.
100%.
Like, why not? Why
100%.
not? The reason that we don't is because I want to force you to believe what I believe.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I want no, you're wrong. You're going to believe what I believe.
You're wrong and I'm right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So we can let that go. Mm-hmm. We can go so much further in this world.
No, I agree. Again, like similar to you, it's like I don't necessarily know how I came like to like these realizations, but for me, I feel like there's a lot of time where, especially in high school, like I was very political, and like I could kind of see like what's behind the curtain, and I was like, I was living in one reality, and I feel like a lot of people are living in a different reality. And like at that time was like my mission to like open people's eyes and like like this is how things are real, like this is what's really going on and stuff like that. And I was very vocal about it. But I've realized as I've gotten older, it's that one, if somebody's not ready for a message, they're not gonna accept it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. And two, it's like when you go directly at somebody's like worldview of something, like you're shaking their reality. You know what I mean? So naturally they're going to be resistant. because like that's their worldview.
Yeah.
So I think the better approach is like, instead of trying to attack somebody directly or trying to be like super direct about things, live your life the way you see is fit. And if it's working out well for you, people are going to notice that and they're going to take notes. Lead by example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always like, that's something I had to realize. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't force somebody to like take this message or force somebody to like do this or that, even if I think it's going to be super beneficial to them.
Yeah.
If they're not ready for it, they're not ready. And I just got to do what I need to do. And maybe they're like, hey, that's working for Trey. Maybe I'll try it.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, it's something that's like reminds me of, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he's like moving up and being successful. And it's like what we were talking about earlier with the cup being full. Mm-hmm. It's like in life, it's not up to you to pull people up to your level. It's up to them to keep up. And if they're not keeping up, you can't slow yourself down to get down on their level. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
So that's just what you said. That's what that reminds me of. Is like sometimes maybe I don't talk to all the people I used to talk to, or my group has changed. Mm-hmm. But that's not because I've changed. Mm-hmm. That's because I have bigger goals, and it's up to them to follow my level.
100%.
It's like if you were on remember Donkey Kong, the ladders?
Yeah, I know of it.
Yeah. So if I'm jumping over these barrels, mm-hmm. and I'm getting up these ladders,
and you're just chilling,
and you're getting fucked up by the barrels,
I jump. Like,
hey, what you want me to do? Come back down the ladder?
100%.
Right? I ain't doing that shit.
100%.
You better come bring your ass up here, motherfucker.
100%. Like, and I think it's part like complacency, and I feel like folks get into a rhythm of how they live their life, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And I think it's hard for a lot of people to shake that rhythm, because that requires you to like jump into the unknown and ultimately take some risk.
Yeah.
And not everybody's a risk taker, you know what I mean? Which is fine, you know, but it's just recognizing that, and you can't like let people hold you back. Like if you got dreams, if you got goals, you got to be mindful of who you're around, because what's the saying? It's like you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yeah. You know what I mean? And community is essential. So you got to make sure you're aligned with people who share the similar goals, who are on a similar mission, because that's going to be fuel for your fire.
Yeah.
You know? So
I agree.
Yeah. And it's hard. I mean, it's hard to, like, you'll have friends for years, and it's like you get to a point where it's like we're not necessarily in alignment. Doesn't say we're not cool, but it's like we can't just be kicking it all the time now, because I know what I need to do to be successful for me. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you're on your own path, and that's cool, but, you know, we're not in alignment. So,
you know what I did? One day I told myself, I'm tired of having freaking ideas and not doing nothing about them.
Yo, that's real. Kind of haunt you, right?
Yeah. Like, you ever sit down with you, like I told you I want to be a rapper back in the day when I was young. Like, I don't know, 90% of all young guys. It's like when we would sit down, yeah, we're going to do shows and we're going to put together, and then never do anything. You right? Or we're gonna start a company and we're going to do it, and then never do that shit. You know? So when I got to like so old, I was working these 9-to-5s, digging these ditches and shit. I told myself, I'm going to fucking fuck this. Like, I'm going to do, when I have an idea, I'm going to fucking doing it. So like, that's when I became a cage fighter. I didn't start cage fighting until I was like 33.
For real? That's pretty late in the game, ain't it?
Bro. So then I was like, and I'm not like talking about with the back, like some people do it, but they were wrestlers or like zero street fight. That's all I do. And well, I was digging the ditch, man, and I was like, man, fuck this.
Saying it.
Fuck this. And I made a reel about this. I was digging in the ditch, and the guy next to me was about 60. And I was there, we're there digging this ditch, and I looked over at him, man, and I was like,
it's going to be me.
Fuck. You know, I was like, fuck, I'm digging it. And like, they get you, and they start paying you decent money. You get the job 9 to 5. You're working 40, 50 hours a week. You got your kids. You're paying your bills. And before you know it, 10 years have passed.
100%.
And I was like, fuck. is another 10 going to pass on me? You know? And I was like, I went home. I was like in shock. Like, I don't know what went over me, but that's what happened to me that day.
Yep.
And I just was driving home and I was like, what could I do? What could I do? I didn't finish. I only went to like 8th grade or 7th grade. And then I was like, I don't have a lot of skills. I don't go to college. And I was like, I'm getting too old to rap. And I was like, I beat the shit out of people pretty good. So I was like, I'm going to fight. So then I was like, start looking at like local fights, and I was like, look at these fat beer drinking guys. They're not even real fighters. Like, you know, they're not real fighters.
They don't
got
just technique. Like,
yeah, they're just regular. I was like, I don't want to be that guy. I said, I want to be a real fighter. And so I started pursuing that, man. But it was kind of went back to like what you were talking about earlier when you said you wrote poetry and then you're like, just want to rap. You know what I mean? You know, so it's kind of like that. The first step in it, whether it's rapping or fighting or whatever it is, I feel like it's always taking that leap of faith.
100%.
Taking that risk. And so I don't know. I drove by MMA gym 10 times before I went in.
Just thinking, looking in the windows. Like,
yeah, I was like, oh, and I would think, I'm fucking 33. These motherfuckers gonna look at me all crazy. Finally, I went in there, you know, and then I eventually, you know, I trained at the top levels of the sport. So, but that it went off me making that leap of faith, that jump, and me deciding I'm not going to waste ideals, you know, whether it's successful or not, just like this podcast. You know, I had an idea. Now look, I got 17 episodes. I got fucking a studio. Just fuck it. I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean it wasn't successful because I had to go and I did it.
Exactly. And it's like, you can't look back and be like, oh, what if I would have did the podcast?
Yeah.
Dang, my life might have been different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think about that a lot with rap too. It was like, you know, I'm so passionate about rap, and I don't want to look back and be like, oh, I probably could have took it really far if I would have just committed to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I never want to be in a state of like, what if?
Yeah.
I was like, just do it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I could at least say I tried it.
Yeah. No, you dope as fuck too. So like, what about have you done shows? Been doing shows?
I've done a handful of shows. Where I live at now, I live in the Roaring Fork Valley. I live in Carbondale, Colorado. And just to paint a picture, demographic wise, it's probably, I think it's like probably like 80% white. Whew. And then it's probably like 18% Latinx, and then 2% other. You know what I mean? So like there's not a hip hop scene. There's a lot of bluegrass and kind of country music, kind of rock kind of vibe. So it's not really a lot of opportunities out there for me to perform at this point. But I performed in El Paso, Texas a couple of times. I just hit open mic last night, so I did a performance last night, and yeah, so I'm getting more performances under my belt, but it's just like demographics haven't worked out. But well,
they got planes and cars, so don't worry about that.
Exactly.
You can just drive and go wherever you want. That's what I do.
Exactly. You got to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Make that shit happen. You know, I got so much faith in you. Like,
I appreciate it.
I would hate to see everybody else. I feel like all my favorite rappers are low key rappers that no one really know about. Like the people who I listen to like in the car and stuff, like you and whatnot. All right, back from my break. So you got a new project coming up?
Yes, indeed. So this is kind of like a long-term project. This is a photo project, but it kind of incorporates some of the music and sound elements and kind of touches on some of the stuff we were talking about like earlier in the podcast. But the reason why I'm here in the Denver area is because I went to this open mic. There's this organization in Denver called Youth on Record, and basically like they allow kids to come and, you know, record music, you know, do podcasts, whatever, and kind of give them the tools to kind of be like performing artists and whatnot. So I went to this open mic, and I went and performed, but I was also there kind of doing some like reconnaissance, kind of checking out, seeing what these kids are about. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm working on this project. Right now it's titled These Words Are Everything. And essentially this project is about kind of like the struggles of, you know, being a kid and growing up in an environment that isn't always conducive to your success, right? And when you live in those environments, you know, it's very easy for you to fall into self-detrimental behavior because, again, your environment isn't conducive to your success. So a lot of these kids, you know, are super bright, super talented kids, but they always don't get a chance to speak their truth, speak what's on their mind, and channel their energy into like a creative or positive outlet. So I want to work with some of these kids and like interview them, talk to them, like hear their stories, kind of similar, you know, to the podcast. Hear their stories, hear what they're about, hear their dreams, their goals, you know, what kind of drives them in life. And you're familiar with SoundCloud, right?
Of course.
So, you know how when you play a song on SoundCloud, you kind of get that waveform audio?
Yes, yeah.
So basically from this interview, I want to grab the audio, put it in the format of that waveform, where it's like the bars, and then photograph these kids and impose their images within the bars of the sound wave. And I'll send you like a reference image if you want to like compose it or whatever. But basically you'll be seeing the sound, you'll be seeing their words, you'll be seeing an image of them, and then ideally you'll be able to like scan it and like hear a piece of that interview or hear like a poem that they did or things like that. But just like, again, just going back to the feelings I had as a kid, it's like I didn't always feel like I had a voice, you know. And again, my goal is to lend my artistic abilities to those who could benefit from it. So it's going to be an ongoing project, still in the very early stages of that, but I'm super excited. And again, that's the reason why I'm in this neck of the woods, is to kind of, you know, do some work for that project. And yeah, so that should be rolling out, you know, over the next couple of years. And big picture, like I see it, you know, multiple cities and operating as like public art pieces, and, you know, it could be in the gallery too, but more importantly, like in like public spaces so people can see and hear these
Everybody
stories.
can enjoy it.
Exactly. So yeah, and then other than that, I got I'm working on like a loose EP. Are you familiar with drum and bass music? It's I'm super new to it. I only found out about this genre like within like the last year or two, but I think it came out of the UK. But it's basically like a lot of instrumentals, but like super like rapid drum patterns, like really like rapid drum patterns. I would describe it as like PlayStation 2 like menu music, PlayStation 2 like boss music.
Yeah, I got you.
But I'm working on it's like a light EP, and it's gonna be all drum and bass beats. So super crazy like fast drum patterns, and I'm on there rapping and stuff. So yeah, that should be rolling out within the next year or two. So.
Do you make beats?
Not yet.
How do you just download beats, or how do you get your beats?
So it's kind of like this world on YouTube, the type beat world. And basically on YouTube, like producers will, you know, upload beats and stuff like that. And essentially they'll give you a couple options. So you could buy an exclusive, which basically you're saying you're like buying the rights to that beat and you own the beat, only you can use that beat. Or you get a lease. And a lease is essentially like you'll pay a lower amount and you can use this beat for so many streams, like 500,000 streams or something like that. So it's a combination of that, and then there's like local producers that I'll connect with, and, you know, we'll cook something up together and stuff like that. So kind of a bunch of different spots, but yeah.
You just get them.
I just get them.
So what I usually do is I always ask a certain question. If you watch some of my podcasts, you probably know what's coming. What is your message? So now we sat down with you. Yeah. Spent about an hour and a half. We sat down. We know you're from El Paso, that you went to Fine Arts College, that you love photography, that you grew up 10% only black people. You wrote poetry, how you got into rap, and what is your message for everybody watching? Which, I mean, we're not a big podcast, but we get, it's going to be a few 100,000, maybe 1 million. Mm-hmm. What is your message for all these people watching and for the world? And you could talk right there in that camera.
Straight to the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say that my message to the world is a couple of different things. But the first thing is don't wait and don't stop. You know what I mean? And again, just going back to our story, like for a long time, I was waiting for somebody to give me permission to say like, Trey, it's okay for you to rap. And ultimately I had to give myself that permission. And since then I've been so ecstatic on what I've been doing and this path that I'm taking. So first and foremost is don't wait. If your heart is guiding you somewhere, follow it, because that's your soul speaking. So don't wait. And two, there's power in your story, and you should never be afraid to share your story, because, it might feel very isolated and specific to you. But again, the things that we often are most insecure about end up being our superpowers and being the things that people resonate the most with. So those are my two messages to the world. And yeah.
They were a good one, though.
Appreciate it.
They're a good one. You might have a little secret hidden power there if you embrace it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't let that shit get away from you.
Exactly. So
I look forward to seeing your projects that come out.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'm definitely going to bump. I've been bumping you already on Spotify. So I've been bumping you on Spotify. D4 to Love is my shit.
Yes, sir. It's a good one. Sleeper.
It's a sleeper. Make sure y'all check that out. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think you're right. I look forward to hearing your music come out. I think you're one of the hottest guys out right now. I honestly do. And when I listen to your music, I don't see why there's any reason why you're not going to blow up. There's no reason why you shouldn't. You just got to, like we just talked about, stay consistent. Yep. Keep climbing them ladders, and don't wait for nobody behind.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah, Donkey Kong, baby. Everybody, I hope you learned something from his story. If the main thing that you could take away from it, and it was in his message, don't wait. Go out there and get it. Don't waste time. Don't be the guy who has an idea and then 10 years pass and you missed your opportunity. Yep. One of my friends, Asa, he had a good message for the world too, and I'll just repeat it. Everybody has, we're not immortal. Everybody has a time, you have a time period that you're working with, You only have so long to get stuff done and before you move on to your next phase of your life. Don't waste it, Before you know it, if you're working in this certain little time area, and before you know it, you're going to be out of it, I know something my coach told me when I was younger is that humans don't have expiration dates. That's true. But you do have levels in life, and you have stages in life. And take advantage of them stages while you're in them. Yep. Don't miss out. Yep. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you we need to make this platform big. It's for the people. This is y'all's platform. We need to support it and make it big. I'm not just trying to get rich. Support it, make it big, and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you I'm connecting the links from a man here. Make sure you go and follow his Instagram. If you're interested in having him fly out and do a show for you, DM him. And thank you for joining us. We out.